Chapter 43, The Immensity of Heaven. That the heaven of the Lord is immense can be confirmed from many things that have been said and shown in the foregoing sections, especially from this, that heaven is from the human race, both from those born within the church and from those born out of it. Thus it consists of all from the beginning of this earth who have lived a good life. How great a multitude of men there is on the entire face of the globe, anyone who knows anything about the divisions, the regions and kingdoms of the earth may conclude. Whoever goes into a calculation will find that several thousand of men die every day, that is, some myriads or millions every year, and this from the earliest times, since which several thousands of years have elapsed. All of these, after death, have come into the other world, which is called the spiritual world, and they are constantly coming into it. But how many of these have become or are becoming angels of heaven cannot be told. This I have been told, that in ancient times the number was very great, because men then thought more interiorly and spiritually, and from such thought were in heavenly affection. But in the following ages, not so many, because in the process of time, man became more external and began to think more naturally, and from such thought to be in earthly affection. All of this confirms how great heaven is, even from the inhabitants of this earth alone. The immensity of the heaven of the Lord is confirmed also by this, that all little children, whether born within the church or out of it, are adopted by the Lord and become angels. And the number of these amounts to a fourth or fifth part of the whole human race on the earth. It can be seen above that every little child, wherever born, whether within the church or out of it, whether of pious or impious parents, is received by the Lord when he dies, and is brought up in heaven, and is taught and imbued with affections for good, and through these with cognitions of truth, in accordance with divine order. And as he becomes perfected in intelligence and wisdom, is brought into heaven and becomes an angel. From all this, a conclusion may be formed of the multitude of angels of heaven, derived from this source alone, from the first creation to the present time. Again, how immense the heaven of the Lord is can be confirmed from this, that all the planets visible to the eye in our solar system are earths, and moreover, that in the whole universe there are innumerable earths, all of them full of inhabitants. These have been treated of particularly in a small work on those earths, from which I wish to quote the following passage. It is very well known in the other life that there are many earths, and men upon them, and spirits and angels therefrom. For every one there who desires to do so from a love of truth and of use is permitted to talk with spirits of other earths, and thus be assured that there is a plurality of worlds, and learn that the human race is not from one earth alone, but from innumerable earths. I have sometimes talked about this with spirits of our earth, and was told that any intelligent person can know from many things that he does know that there are many earths and men there. For it is a reasonable conclusion that immense bodies like the planets, some of which exceed this earth in magnitude, are not empty masses created merely to be carried and to be moved around the sun, and to shine with their scanty light for the benefit of a single earth, but must have a more important use. He who believes, as everyone ought to believe, that the divine created the universe for no other end than that the human race might come into existence, and heaven therefrom, for the human race is a seminary of heaven, must needs believe that wherever there is an earth, there are men. That the planets that can be seen by the eye, because they are within the limits of our solar system, are earths, is evident from their being bodies of terrestrial material, which is known from their reflecting the sun's light, and from their not appearing when viewed through telescopes like stars, glowing because of flame, but like earths variegated by dark patches. Also from their being carried like our earth around the sun and progressing in the path of the zodiac, thus making years and seasons of the year, spring, summer, autumn and winter, also revolving on their axes like our earth, making days and times of the day, morning, midday, evening and night. Also from some of them having moons, called satellites, that revolve around their earth at stated times, as the moon does around ours. While the planet Saturn, being at a greater distance from the sun, has also a large luminous belt which gives much light, though reflected, to that earth. Who, knowing all this and thinking rationally, can ever say that the planets are empty bodies? Moreover, I have said to spirits that men might believe that there are more earths in the universe than one, from the fact that the starry heaven is so immense, and the stars there so innumerable, and each of them in its place or in its system a sun resembling our sun, although of a varying magnitude. Anyone who duly considers the subject must conclude that such an immense whole must needs be a means to an end that is the final end of creation. And this end is a heavenly kingdom, in which the divine may dwell with angels and men. For the visible universe, or the heaven illuminated by stars so numberless, which are so many suns, is simply a means for the existence of earths with men upon them, from whom the heavenly kingdom is derived. From all this a rational man cannot think otherwise than that so immense a means to so great an end was not made for the human race on one single earth. What would this be for a divine that is infinite, to which thousands and even myriads of earths, all of them full of inhabitants, would be little and scarcely anything? There are spirits whose sole pursuit is the acquisition of cognitions, because their delight is in this alone. For this reason they are permitted to wander about, and even to pass out of our solar system into others, and to arrange cognitions together. These spirits, who are from the planet Mercury, have said that there are earths with men upon them not only in this solar system, but also beyond it in the starry heaven in immense numbers. It has been calculated that with 1,000,000 earths in the universe, and on each earth 300 millions of men, and 200 generations in 6,000 years, and a space of 3 cubic ells allowed to each man or spirit, the total number of so many men or spirits would not fill the space of this earth, and scarcely more than the space of one of the satellites about one of the planets. A space in the universe so small as to be almost invisible, since a satellite can scarcely be seen by the naked eye. What is this for the Creator of the universe, to whom it would not be sufficient if the whole universe were filled, since he is infinite? I have talked with angels about this, and they said that they had a similar idea of the fewness of the human race compared with the infinity of the Creator, although their thought is from states, not from spaces, and that in their thoughts, earths amounting to as many myriads as could possibly be conceived of would still be nothing at all to the Lord. Concerning the earths in the universe and their inhabitants, and the spirits and angels therefrom, see the above-mentioned little work. The things there related have been revealed and shown to me to the intent that it may be known that the heaven of the Lord is immense, and that it is all from the human race. Also that our Lord is everywhere acknowledged as the God of heaven and earth. Again, the immensity of the heaven of the Lord is confirmed in this, that heaven in its entire complex resembles one man, and also corresponds to all and each of the things with man, and that this correspondence can never be filled, since it is a correspondence not only with each of the members, organs and viscera of the body in general, but also with all and each of the little viscera and little organs contained in these in every minutest particular, and even with each vessel and fibre. And not only with these, but also with the organic substances that receive interiorly the influx of heaven, from which come man's interior activities that are serviceable to the operations of his mind. Since everything that comes into existence interiorly in man does so in forms which are substances. For anything that does not exist in a substance as its subject is nothing. There is a correspondence of all these things with heaven, as can be confirmed from the section treating of the correspondence of all things of heaven with all things of man. This correspondence can never be filled, because the more numerous the angelic associations are that correspond to a single member, the more perfect heaven becomes. For every perfection in the heavens increases with increase of number. The reason is that all there have one end in view and look with one accord to that end. That end is the common good, and when it reigns, there is, from the common good, good to each individual, and from the good of each individual, there is good to the whole community. This comes about because the Lord turns all in heaven to himself, and thereby makes it possible for them to be one in him. That the unanimity and concord of many, especially from such an origin and held together by such a bond, produces perfection, everyone with a reason at all enlightened can see clearly. I have also been permitted to see the extent of the inhabited and also of the uninhabited heaven, and saw that the extent of the uninhabited heaven was so great that it could not be filled to eternity, even if there were many myriads of earths, and as great a multitude of men on each earth as on ours. See the little work on earths in the universe. That heaven is not immense, but is of limited extent, is a conclusion that some have derived from certain passages in the Word, understood according to the sense of its letter. For example, where it is said that only the poor are received into heaven, or only the elect, or only those within the church, and not those outside it, or only those for whom the Lord intercedes, that heaven is closed when it is filled, and that this time is predetermined. But such do not know that heaven is never closed, and that there is not any predetermined time or any limited number, and that those are called the elect who are in a life of good and truth, and those are called poor who are not in the cognitions of good and truth and yet desire them, and such from that desire are also called hungry. Those who have conceived an idea of the small extent of heaven from the word not understood believe it to be in one place where all are gathered together, when in fact heaven consists of innumerable societies. Such also have no other idea than that heaven is granted to everyone from immediate mercy, and thus that there is admission and reception only from favour. They fail to understand that the Lord from mercy leads everyone who receives him, and that he receives him who lives in accordance with the laws of divine order, which are the precepts of love and of faith, and that the mercy that is meant is to be thus led by the Lord from infancy to the last period of life in the world, and afterwards to eternity. Let them know, therefore, that every man is born for heaven, and that he who receives heaven in himself in the world is received, and he who does not receive it is shut out.